What's up? How are you doing?
That's my favorite person.
Yes. How you doing?
I'm good.
We were just going from house to house, and we're like, we need a good market update with somebody who really knows what's going on. I'm like,
Do you ever get
Jennifer
fancy?
Toomer. Oh, shut up. I'm like, is there anybody in the world I'd rather have on here than you? It's like, that'll be perfect.
My name is Jennifer Toomer. I'm the CEO or team leader at Keller Williams Vestavia. My job is the growth, the productivity, and the profitability, and the culture of this office. So our goal is to get to 500 agents as soon as we can and share back $500,000 in profit share to our agent partners and take #1 market share position in the city. That's all we want to do. Just those things.
That's it. And you know what? I can't imagine anyone doing it better than you. I mean,
You're
come
so
on.
sweet.
I
Thank
mean,
you.
You motivate me. I get so fired up. I'm like, I like it.
It's fun.
Where do you think we're going, and how do you keep your agents and everybody excited about the market?
I just got the question today, just this morning. When are the foreclosures going to hit? They're not.
No.
They're not going to hit.
I don't know why people think that.
I don't know how many times I can say this.
Yeah.
That's not real.
Right.
This is not that.
Right.
I don't know if you know this fact. Last year in the real estate industry, the gross commission income of realtors was 40% higher than it's ever been historically in the history of ever. Everybody can ride that wave,
Right.
whether you have a skill set or not.
That's right.
So-
it made average people look like rock stars.
So just like a seller who sold their house last year looks like they're brilliant, right? And yes, they absolutely were able to take advantage of the market. Their timing was just lucky.
Yeah.
They just needed a seller to sign to sell at the right time.
Yeah.
The rates are, #1, they had to come up, right? Like they couldn't stay at 2.5.
Right.
It was free money.
Right.
And what's crazy is we couldn't get people off the fence to buy property.
Right.
They were like, oh, but the prices. We're like, oh, but the rates.
I know.
So there's a few things that are going to happen, but the one thing that isn't going to happen is prices aren't going to drop. Now, I'm not saying they're not going to settle. I'm saying they're not going to drop.
Right.
Year over year, our total closed volume is off by 1%. From last year, which is 2021, this was through the end of October. Here's what's interesting. Unit sales are down like 18%. The number of transactions are slowing down, but the pricing isn't following.
Right.
Supply and demand doesn't cease to exist. Like the rules of supply and demand.
Okay.
We still have limited supply.
Right.
People were saying about going back to the foreclosures, oh, the market's going to get flooded with all these foreclosures. Well, it's not.
Well, I think where part of that came from is all the outside noise was like, well, these foreclosures are up 20,000%. Well, that's because there weren't any foreclosures last year.
There was nothing.
Right,
Yeah, year over year,
so
sure they were.
0 to 5 is
that's
like a big
increase.
It really is.
I mean, mathematically, it is.
Right.
So we haven't had a flood of inventory.
Okay.
And we still have, this is the thing about real estate. It's one of the reasons I feel like I have some job security some days. MLS is never going to say zero.
Right.
Forever and ever, the multiple listing service is never going to say, you know what, there's no houses for sale.
Right.
Because people die, people get divorced, people
They just have to sell
have
for some
debt,
reason. Right.
people get job transfers, they get married, they have babies, they have kids go to college. Life happens. Mm-hmm. We deal in a business, you and I, that is based around Maslow's hierarchy of needs: food, shelter, clothing. So forever and ever, real estate's going to be bought and sold. Someone's going to own it. The question for us is, which professionals in the business are going to do the sales? Sales are always going to be there. The question is, who's getting the market share?
Okay.
As a real estate agent.
Right.
As a real estate investor, picking the right deals.
So how do you ensure it's you and your agents?
Yeah, well, it's education and training.
Education, training.
What's really funny and
really keeping this mind right.
Mindset's always like the 6 inches between here, right?
Yes.
It's always the first most important piece because what you say, your perspective is going to dictate a lot of your reality. So mindset's #1. What's really interesting is everybody's been, the company that I get to work with, Keller Williams, one of our big value proposition pieces is training. We're a training company cleverly disguised as a real estate agency.
Right.
Well, when the market's flying, nobody wants to come to training because they're so busy.
Yeah.
So what's fascinating is the last 6 months, that room's
Butts
full.
have been in the seat.
That room is full.
Yeah.
And so the agents that get to the skills and the fundamental skill set, it's even like in real estate investing. your margins were a lot looser a year ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Like you know your numbers better than anybody I know.
Right.
And you can do it in your head for the most part.
Right.
And you knew you had margin of error. Like the market was going to catch if you went over a little, if there was this thing that happened.
Right.
Today, you're probably leaning into that skill set of running your numbers more intensely than you would have even a year ago. Well, realtors are the same way. You didn't have to have a skill set. You kind of slip by.
Yeah.
Now you better know your stuff.
Yeah.
Negotiation matters. Scripts and dialogues matter. Helping consumers figure out, how do I buy a house when the rates are at 7%? What do I do? What's a creative way around it? How do I make those decisions? And that's all comes from training.
What have you noticed about days on market? I mean, that's really increased, right?
I mean, it's still roughly about 42 days on market.
What was
which is healthy.
Maybe
it was like
0.3. Right, like 2 hours.
It's impossible to be 0.3.
Right.
It was.
Yeah.
I mean, you felt that shift real quickly.
Yeah.
You felt it shift.
But it's like buyers are not moving quite as fast, but they're still moving.
There's actually things called second showings.
Oh, right. What is that? Right.
I'm going back for a second
showing. And
showing.
there's actually home inspections now.
You even get to have a home inspection before you write the before you commit to life with the home.
I work with a bunch of agents, and what I was so impressed with you and your agents out of this office is when things were so hard to wrap up for their buyers, right? You taught them how to help the closing calls for the sellers, closing calls, and had some really good strategies that other agents were not doing. Yeah, they finally caught on to what y'all were doing, but it worked.
We told our agents, we said, look, we called it tips, tricks, techniques, tools, and tactics to win. I remember the sales meeting where we said, here's these things, nobody's doing it, you can win. And I said, but you got about 6 weeks.
And that's exactly what's going to happen.
Because over 6 weeks, you're going to do this and people are going to hear about it. And they're going to go, oh, let me do that. So you have a competitive advantage for a moment. And so now, then we had to get real creative with the fact that we didn't have any listings. We couldn't get listings because what did everybody say? If I list my house, where will I go?
Okay, right.
So I was like, okay, here's what we're going to do. Nobody does it. We're going on the market with a reverse contingency. We're going to list. We don't close unless we find something.
Right.
People go, you can't do that. Nobody's going to buy the house. Yes, they are, because they don't have other choices. Play the market. Working. So we did it. Yeah. So now we're back to the skill set of negotiating and getting the best deal we can for our buyers. I even had an agent say to me this week, this is funny. She represented her buyer, strong negotiation, got a little off the sales price, got great concessions in a well taken care of house and repairs. She said, I feel like I'm taking advantage of the sellers. And I said, buyers were taking advantage of for the last 2 years, so to speak, right? They had to go in. I said, this is the nature of the business. Yeah. Sometimes the sellers win, and then sometimes the buyers win. Right. And it goes back and forth, it ebbs and flows. Yeah. It'll do that for the rest of time. So you can't time it. You just got to, when it's time to make a real estate decision, make the real estate decision.
That's what he said earlier. Gordon said, you can't time the market. It's just, you can try and you can luck up sometimes, but you really can't. No one has that skill set.
It's like timing the bottom or the top of the stock market.
Right. It's impossible.
Right? Everybody looks like a genius that invested in the stock market in the previous 4 years up until a year ago.
Yeah.
They weren't geniuses. They just hit the ride at the right time.
Right.
And real estate is a long-term asset for a long-term hold that builds generational wealth and is the building block of families' financial picture. When it's time to buy, buy. When it's time to sell, sell. Because over the long haul, it's all going to work out.
Yeah.
You refinance it later. You get a lower rate.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
I couldn't sell. I don't know where I would live right now if I sold my house. I couldn't recreate my mortgage payment
Yeah.
in a million years. I couldn't rent anything for what my mortgage is.
Yes.
Because I got to take advantage of those rates.
Right.
I was able to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
And it was a great thing to be able to do that. But yeah, it's about mindset. It's about training. It's about skills and fundamentals. It's no different than athletics.
Yeah.
Saban will say the same thing. They all say the same stuff. It's the same thing here. And if you think it's going to be a crappy market, go ahead and turn your license in, because that's what's going to happen. Make room for people who want to do it for real.
I think that's so valuable. That's good stuff. It's like, drop the mic.
You're right, man. Yeah. He's like,
Jennifer, I love your energy. Oh my God, I love it. I'm so motivated right now. I don't think I can go home and sleep tonight.
Matthew said to me one time when we were looking at KW partnership, he goes, "Do you drink the Kool-Aid?" And I said, "No. I just sleep with an IV hooked up into my arm all night." He started dying laughing.
And when COVID hit, you know who the first call I made? To Jennifer. And
we talked.
You got my stinking thinking fixed. Just like that.
I was like, man, you're
I never missed a beat.
Like, you're fixing to blow it up.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And you need people like that in your life. That you can call when you're unsure about something or you need a little pep in your step. And
Well, at the same time, like, having high energy and passion around what you do doesn't negate or cross out the ability to be thoughtful, logical, and smart.
Right.
Right? Like, I think a lot of people fall on one end of the spectrum. They can be super wicked smart, but sometimes cynical and negative. And then you have people who are super high energy and passionate, but they're like unicorns and rainbows in Candyland, right? And so what I try to do is find the best of both worlds, like bring that positive mindset. At the same time, be really smart and understand. I always want to be the dumbest person in whatever room I'm in.
Yes.
I think 2023, if I had to put it in a sentence, there'll be less sides.
Less transactions.
Less transactions.
Okay.
Flat volume. Flat to maybe dropping a little bit, 1%, 2%, 3%.
From 2022
From 2022.
Okay.
And then I think once they figure out, the government trying to stabilize the economy is like landing a jet plane on a driveway.
That's right.
I mean, they're going to overshoot it every time. So we're going to go crazy with the interest rate, the Fed, the basis points, all the stuff. It's going to overcorrect. Then we're going to come back and we're going to settle. That's what it does every time. We'll be fine. I think it's the end of next year. We're okay.
Where are interest rates right this second? Do you know?
It's like 6.25.
Yeah.
I mean, ballpark.
Which is not bad.
It's not terrible. My first house was 6.25.
Yeah, mine was higher than that. But
yeah.
You're an inspiration, ma'am.
Well,
you
likewise,
really
my friend. I'm grateful for you.
All right, see you later, okay? I appreciate you so much.